Boker Tov, Sugar Grove. I'm Josh Polster.
And I'm Eliza Makowski.
And we are here with you this morning for a Shiva Asar B'Tammuz edition of our traditional morning radio show. It's going to be a much shorter version of the show, much more toned down. We're going to go through some of the history and meaning behind Shiva Asar B'Tammuz and hear from our director, Esti Fleischman, on the subject before ending shortly. So, with that, Eliza?
Yeah, so to start with, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz is a really interesting day because it is the day of 5 significant historical events for the Jewish people, and they're all very interesting to think about and reflect on during the day. So we're just going to briefly tell you what these 5 are. The first one is when Moshe came down from Har Sinai with the first set of luchot, and he saw the Jewish people worshiping the golden calf, the Egel HaZahav, and in his fury or in his sadness, he threw the luchot and they shattered everywhere. So that's the first thing that happened on this day. The second one was when the Korban Tamid was stopped because of the shortage of sheep during the siege during the first Beit HaMikdash. So usually there was a korban, a sacrifice that was given every day, the Tamid, and during this year was the time when it was stopped because they no longer had the sheep that they needed to bring that korban.
And that's especially significant because where once the korban was brought twice a day, after this stoppage due to the siege of Yerushalayim, it was not brought again until the reconstruction of the second Beit HaMikdash over 70 years later. The third thing that we commemorate on this day is the story of Melachim Bet Parak Chaf Aleph, where King Menashe, one of the terrible kings of Jewish history, placed an idol in the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies of the Mikdash, of the temple. The fourth commemoration is that the Roman captain Apostomos publicly burned a Sefer Torah, which was considered a terrible act of tragedy. The final one, most historically significant in general, was the breach of the walls of Jerusalem, the fall, the end of the siege and the beginning of the fall of the city by the Roman Empire in 70 CE. That marked the end and the burning of the first temple. That would occur 3 weeks later on Tisha B'Av.
On Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, we spend a lot of time reflecting on these tragedies and also on the sins that caused them. It's important to think about all aspects of the day, of the history of all of these different situations, and to just reflect on them, to think about what they mean to us now, so many years later.
In terms of halacha, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz is a day fast, so from sunrise to sundown. It is a fast day, no eating, no drinking. Obviously only for people in good health. If you have any medical concerns, ask your local Orthodox rabbi, but err on the side of health. We say slichot at the beginning of davening. We insert Avinu Malkeinu, and in Shemona Esrei we add the paragraph of Anenu and Sim Shalom instead of Shalom Rav at Mincha at the end. And we have Kriyat HaTorah at Shacharit and at Mincha, where we read the Psukim of Psol Lecha, which is the aftermath of the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf, and Hashem's subsequent forgiveness with the Yod Gimel Midot HaRachamim, the 13 attributes of forgiveness that are so central to the Yom Kippur service. We also read in the laning, in the Torah reading for Shiva Asar B'Tammuz.
Shiva Asar B'Tammuz is also the beginning of what we call the 3 weeks. It's a 3-week period of mourning that ends on Tisha B'Av. And what we're mourning is for Yerushalayim and for the destruction of the Second Temple. Like we said, the walls of the city were breached on this day, and then it took another 3 weeks before the temple was destroyed completely. So that's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about the Beit HaMikdash being destroyed over these next 3 weeks. And that comes with different laws of mourning, Minagei Avelut, which are a variety of different laws. We can talk about them in detail more. If you're interested in learning about them, Rav Adi posted a video on our YouTube channel. You can learn a little bit about the laws for today and also the laws for the next 3 weeks. But it's really about being a little more solemn, being in a state of mourning and recognizing that this was a pretty significantly devastating time for Bnei Yisrael.
Now we will hear a short message from our director, Esti Fleischman, on the subject of Shiva Asar B'Tammuz in the 3 weeks. Thank you, Esti, so much for joining us here on the morning show. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's great to be here. A happier day might have been nice for me, but, I'm here all the time. I'll take them. I'm with you guys, good times and bad. So here we are.
Thank you. We very much appreciate it. We can definitely, do this again on a less somber day. There are still a few days left of Indoor World, and we can have you back on for a different type of interview.
Maybe for a comedy breakfast.
We've heard rumors of a comedy breakfast hosted by you, opened by Lisa.
That is the talk, but we'll have to see.
We'll plan that for a future episode. But for today, it's Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. It's a fast day. And fast days in camp are always very, very unique, very meaningful, very special experiences. We go out of our way to construct these, elaborate mechanisms of involving the Chanichim and involving the Tzevet, and to really feel sort of the significance of the fast days, whether it be Shiva Asar B'Tammuz or Tisha B'Av, in just ways that are not possible or non-existent in normal communities or in people's homes. With that in mind, how are we addressing today in Shiva Asar B'Tammuz in Indoor World where everybody's not here? How are we bringing that same sense of meaning and involvement to all the Chanichim listening at home?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Josh and Elisa. It's true that when we plan fast day programming in camp, we recognize that this is our opportunity to create a really unique educational experience and moment for everybody who's here. For a lot of kids, first of all, we really like it when there's one fast day each session. That's the best case scenario, because then everyone gets to have some of that experience. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. But I think, if you guys have ever been here before on a fast day in camp, you see just how special it is. So now we have an additional challenge, because in certain senses we're experiencing parts of camp, but we're doing it at home. So how do we bring this into our home with us? So what we tried to do when we planned the day for Indoor World today was to pick highlights and different parts of what we do in camp, but recognize that we aren't able to be together as a community in person, but these are still things that we can do. So during Tefillah this morning, we had the opportunity to have Machal's involvement in creating educational expressions, meaningful, dramatic expressions of the slichot that we said, which is always a key component, a time when Machal really rises up and contributes to what we're doing. We also try to come up with interesting and unique educational experiences. Like this afternoon, we're visiting the Kotel tunnels virtually, which relates to exactly what's going on in Tochnit as we learn about Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai and the role that he had in the Churban and thinking and reorienting the Jewish people to a new reality that they were experiencing after that. And we have an opportunity to hear a shir by Rav Moshe Lichtenstein, which is a very exciting thing for any tzevet or parents, mishpachot, machal, families out there, anyone who wants to hear. And we're going to end with a shira, a very powerful opportunity to sing together, to hear a story, and to sort of think about the day. Oh, and of course, watch movies, which we always have to do on a fast day, right? So
very
there'll
important.
be movies this afternoon by Ada. So we really tried to take different components and think about how we could make your day at home more meaningful as a part of the Campstone community. We hope we're successful, and hopefully every person will connect to something that they like more or less over the course of the day to sort of elevate their experience, your experience while you're at home.
It sounds absolutely incredible. A very, very wide variety of programming, very interesting programming across the board. Make sure to check out the Indoor World website, which will have a schedule and links to all of these really, really awesome events that I know I'm excited for being here.
Good.
So with that, looking forward from Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, what does, for you personally, what do you think about what's the meaning behind Shiva Asar B'Tammuz for you, Esti?
So I guess, I always have a few thoughts. I'll share with you two of them. Okay, the first one is that this, I think for all of us, gets us thinking. Shiva Asar B'Tammuz brings us into the 3 weeks and, not ending till Tisha B'Av. And it brings us into thinking about a period with a Beit HaMikdash. And sort of the first place my mind always goes is, what would it be like to live if we had a Beit HaMikdash? Or what was life like when we had a Beit HaMikdash? And we always, have tochniot in camp that give us an opportunity to think about what my life would have been like, what bringing korbanot would be like, what different avodah might have been like, and how I would have been involved in that. What would my life in Katzrin look like, right? All kinds of different things in the village, right? Josh and Eliza, you guys know about that.
We know a little bit.
You do. But, I always start to think about what my life would have been like and really trying to identify what the lack in my life is by not having a Beit HaMikdash. And that's, I think, a really hard thing to imagine since we never lived with one. And we don't know exactly what that means. And the Ma'amarei Chazal about it are so widespread and so broad, it's hard to envision what that would really mean for each of us personally. But I really take time over the course of this period to think about what I'm missing by not having that. What is the churban that I see and I experience? I think this year, I guess it's sort of my second point, I think this year, we keep saying we're living in historic times, right? You guys out there, you'll remember this forever. You'll tell your children, your grandchildren about these times. And there's a lot for us to think about, right? To think about what is going on in the world and what are the ways that we can be involved in making the world better. Fast Day calls upon us to think about our actions and our behavior and who we are and who we want to be and how we're going to make the world better. I think that it's for all of us to sit and really listen to the call and think about what it means for each of us to fix a world that needs fixing, whether it's certain, issues, medical issues or coronavirus, or maybe it's other issues that we see around us, social issues of race, issues in all different ways that we see in the world around us. And each of us can be involved in helping to create a better world. And I'll just say here also that while we're talking about that, there were a lot of people involved in creating Indoor World, a lot of your tzevet and a lot of people and you guys who joined. And really everyone who was a part of it did so because they wanted to, right? It was a volunteer opportunity. And they did it because we wanted to do something good and create a world that's better. And if we can take some of the energy that we put into Indoor World and what we sort of saw that we created here together and take that to the broader, wider world and help as we get older and we see opportunities to make a better world, I'm sure we will be successful. So that's my hope for us as we sit here on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz and as we think into the future, into the weeks that come and hopefully into a beautiful future ahead full of goodness and ways that we can make the world better.
It's really, really excellent. Thank you very, very much for your kind words. I know that there's definitely a lot to think about for the Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. I know it's a privilege for me and for Eliza to be involved in Indoor World and everything that's happening here. And we hope we can carry that energy forward. So thank you very much, Esti.
Amen. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day.
Tzom Kal to everyone.
That's right.
Rabot machshavot belevish Vatzat Hashem hitaku 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 Atzat Hashem li'olam atamo machshivo libo ledor vador Atzat Hashem li'olam atamo machshivo libo ledor vador רבות מחשבות בלבי שוועצת השם היא תקום רבות מחשבות בלבי שוועצת השם היא תקום עצת השם מעולם תעמוד מחשבות ליבו לדור ודור עצת השם מעולם תעמוד מחשבות ליבו לדור ודור.
Thank you all for joining us here today on Boker Tov Sugar Grove for our shortened episode today. It was so nice to have you. It was nice to have Esty here with us, giving her thoughts. So thank you so much for that, Esty.
For all of the changed programming, it's not a regular schedule today for Indoor World. Please check the Indoor World website for links and schedules. We hope that everybody out there has an easy fast at Tzom Kal, and we will see you once again tomorrow at 9:45 a.m. Eastern for our regularly scheduled programming.
But for now,
Turim to Indoor World.